गुरुर्ब्रह्मा स्वयं साक्षात् सेव्यो वन्द्यो मुमुक्षुभिः नो द्वेजनीय एवायम् तत्त्वज्ञेन विवेकिना।
Friends, ladies and gentlemen, and dear children, this is the first time I have come to the United States without a long-range planning of any kind. It was a casual tour that I have taken up, the purpose of which is mainly to see my own people scattered all over this vast continent. And I have already spent about 3 weeks. I am going to spend another 3 weeks with the same purpose. I will be back home by the 24th or 25th of October. This discourse that has been arranged today was not very well planned so far as I am concerned. It is purely incidental that I have come here and I happened to meet a few friends and they had suggested that I address all friends. This is a very holy place, being the temple of Mahaganapati, accompanied by Sri Mahavishnu, Shiva, Subramanyeshwara, and the Mother Goddess. But the main deity is Sri Mahaganapati, pronounced to him, accompanied by all others at the outset. As we all know, we worship Ganapati annually and daily also. The very purpose of puja offered to Ganapati is something very strange, not to be normally expected. He is Vigneshwara. He is a lot of obstacles. Why do we worship him? In fact, only to create obstacles to us. That is the very purpose of Ganesha Upasana or Puja. Just as we all know that there are right mistakes, we have some wrong plans too, which in our own interest have to be thwarted. What is an obstacle to a wrong thing is a protection to us. So we pray to him to create the right kind of obstacles to our wrong planning so that we are saved by that obstacle. This is the main intention in puja offered to Mahaganapati. I am sure he will bless me with that kind of obstacles to any kind of wrong statements I am likely to make anywhere, because the subject matter is no small one. It does not fit into a small code of rules or limitations. In fact, there is no limit to the subject matter given to me. But there are extremely small limits to my knowledge and my ability to deliver what little I know. At the outset, I am extremely happy to see all my people from my motherland having come over to this distant land and made that a home of their own, having distinguished themselves in many professions and many walks of life, with ability, with a status, with total recognition in the society. I feel extremely proud about this. And the more important than this, I feel totally gratified and feel proud to see that The motherland has not left you, although you have come a long way. Mother culture has not left you. You are able to create a small mini India and Indianism where you have been living. This has been the case. I have found many places where my own people have made me feel totally at home. I did not feel that I was away from India when I met them, when I was among them. With similar feelings of happiness and total satisfaction, I stand before you. To say a few words. The very important background that you have had in our motherland is of great importance. That has played a vital role in your building up of your personalities that have won recognition in this distant land. The culture provided, the culture in which you have been brought up, what has been given to you by your parents and grandparents and the society around in India. That discipline which made you study hard, go to the schools, with ambition and hard work and diligence, that has made you this, that has rewarded you at a distant land. That culture is basically responsible for all the success that you have met with at this place. That discipline, that ambition, that diligence, that hard work, whether it is in the school or in the profession later, that is exactly the responsible factor that has given you the success here. For this reason, we all owe it to the motherland and the mother culture. The success that we have met with is traceable only to the background which we have had in our motherland. Therefore, we have to maintain a sense of gratitude, remembrance of the motherland and the culture throughout, as long as we enjoy the fruits of what has been given to us by our motherland. It's a simple thing. But then, the question arises as to what will be the background to the next generation. The next generation are not born in India, they are not brought up in India, they have not seen the surroundings in India, not the grandparents and all that. They have to entirely depend on the household, the home, the parents, and the few relatives that they have around here. It is therefore very necessary, it behooves us to remember the roots of our culture, the sources of our culture, sources of our success, carefully remember that, and then hand it down to the next generation as carefully as if it is a precious heirloom of the family. This is a very important task that stays before us, of which we have to be aware all the time. Unless this is given to our next generation, we cannot claim that we have done our duty towards our progeny. We cannot say that we have brought them up properly. We cannot be proud of their culture and their behavior and their conduct, the way they conduct themselves in their new land. It is true that we have been able to build up good temples and keep up our culture going. But will these temples be visited, respected, and maintained by the next generation is also a question. Unless we hand down this valuable heritage to our next generation, the question remains as to what is the future of the culture that we have brought with us and try to perpetuate in this land. As it is, it's not more than about 30 to 40% of the people who live here have taken this religion or culture very seriously. There is the majority of them who have not taken this culture seriously also. With this scenario, it is of utmost importance and great importance, I would say, to introduce to our children, to our grandchildren something about India. It is very necessary to take them home because we cannot afford to lose our roots and moorings. We belong there. We can totally not get absorbed here in the sense in which the natives of this land have absorbed themselves in their culture. There shall always exist a kind of a difference. We should not lose our roots from our motherland and our culture. It is very necessary to keep our children in touch with our motherland. Then the question arises, what exactly do you mean by this culture? What do you mean by our religion? And what is the basic formula which is very necessary, which is in short can be introduced to our children? What do you want us to do? Do you want us to visit the temple regularly? Do you want us to do any puja to any deity every day in the home? Well, culture is very difficult to define. It is a sum total of our mind, body, surroundings. Mind is bound to ramble in many fields of activity around. It is bound to be drawn into the surroundings. But as long as he is easily influenced by the surroundings and the environment in which he lives, it obviously means that he has no mind of his own. As long as the surroundings influence him easily and draw him out of his real inner personality, the stability with which he is able to conduct himself in his heritage, any young man is prone to be drawn into any kind of culture, into any direction. The stability is totally lacking. What we have inherited in our motherland from your parents, from your grandparents, is that stability of ability to reject anything foreign, anything not belonging to that native culture, anything which is inferior, anything which is not equal in quality to your culture, ability to reject it without being tempted to accept it. That stability has been inherited by us. That stability relates to our moral sense, hope, a strong, well-knit household, relationship with siblings, brothers, sisters, uncles, and ability to accept them as part of your family. Treat them dearly, very open, with an open heart, able to receive them, give them a good treatment. These are all simple things to look at, but they form the core of our culture. For example, the modern professions have drawn several thousands of Indian graduates to this land. They have been able to take up excellent jobs here. They have been engaged in this country. But the question is, how come that this country was not able to produce its own workforce in these new subjects? How come that they depend on Indian graduates to such an extent? What happened to their progeny? What happened to their younger generation? Could they not make up their mind to train their youngsters in this, whether it is software engineering or electrical engineering, mechanical engineering or medicine? How come they are so dependent, such a great nation, which is one of the most powerful nation on the earth today, which is calling shots in many fields, which is leading? How come there so much of dependence seems to be there? There appears to be something wrong in the upbringing of the children. They are not taken to subjects of study very seriously. They are not taken to schooling seriously. They are too anxious to spend their time in the school too long and jump into realities of life, enjoy life. And what is the kind of enjoyment that they are drawn to? Football, baseball? Is it a very serious subject in life? Is there nothing more serious than this? Let our children not be attracted to such kind of a easygoing life. I am sure the same amount of hard work and diligence and devotion to and ambition to reach heights in society that has brought you here shall be perpetuated, shall be given down to your next generation and the next generation also without fail, carefully handing down that heritage, that seriousness, that serious mind that has given you the ability to achieve something in a foreign land is born out of a very deep roots of heritage and culture in you, which is difficult to define. Taking life seriously, taking values seriously, taking relationships seriously, taking whole family seriously, and last of all, religion seriously. Religion comes at the end of the list of things that are to be taken seriously. Religion itself does not make a man great. Religion itself is not capable of reforming a man. There are many religious people with all the weaknesses in their intact. They have not been able to overcome their personal weaknesses. But I am not here to say that all the population in India are excellent. They are excellent people. They are very religious, very moral, upright. They are leading an ideological life. No, I don't mean that. It is always a minority that goes to the top. But here, the cream of Indian society has gathered. You represent the cream of that society, the intellectual cream, the hard-working cream, the culture that has been able to bring you up to this level. That cream is here. Therefore, if 99% of you are high-quality personalities from Indian soil, in India itself, it may not be more than 20% in that society there. It makes all the difference. Then, I would also take this opportunity to appeal to you once again to totally remain Indian and to remain Indian citizen so far as India is concerned, wherever you may be living. What is meant by citizenship? Concern about what goes on in that country. There is no point in donating dollars to India or Indian temples. It's not very necessary. It is totally secondary. The primary matter of importance is your personal concern about what goes on in India. That is called the Indian citizenship. I am not referring to the legal aspect of Indian citizenship or US citizenship, and I am not very much in the know things also about it. I am totally ignorant about the law. But Indian citizenship consists of your personal concern and attention paid to what goes on in India, what goes on in Indian society, how is the Indian politics shaping up, what is happening there, what should not have happened, what should have happened, what should have taken place, what is wrong with that. 50 years of independence have left the country partly in a lurch so far as the political, we want the political freedom. Political freedom is just political freedom. Why should we fight for freedom in India? Is it to organize our own railways, our own income tax departments and the communications and telephones? Is it to industrialize the country for which we fought? Does industrialization make a nation, a country a nation? Does it lend any real character to the country? I am sure the British government would have industrialized that country far better than what has happened in these 50 years now, had they continued. We thought of winning our independence from a foreign hand in order to revive our culture, values, to re-establish our heritage, to be a proud citizen in the world with a character and identity of our own. Have we achieved it? It's a very serious question. No. On the other hand, whenever India is mentioned anywhere, I have seen some international airports, I have seen international platforms, I have seen international gatherings, societies. Whenever India's name is mentioned, there is something to be ashamed of. We feel sad about it. We are mentioned only negatively, not a positive thing is mentioned. And yet, Thousands of foreigners are flocking in Indian ashrams and temples to see what is culture in India, whether to learn Bharatanatyam or to learn yoga or to study Indian philosophy or to study temple architecture, something like it. There are 100 subjects in which any foreigner thinking citizen of other countries is interested in that country. They are working there. But so far as a nation being run by the politicians is concerned, it is a shameful affair. The cream of Indian society that has gone out the borders of that country owe it to the country to raise their voice of protest, if necessary, suggest what is wrong, what is right, to do this, not to do that, not to repeat this. I would therefore request you to start a journal like something like Indian Opinion and contribute your think tank, your valuable suggestions, your ideas, what you feel about India to the Indians so that the Indians there may be inspired to some extent. For the simple reason, the voice of the Indian there is not heard. In Pakistan, there is no freedom of speech. There is enough freedom of speech in India with no effect. It amounts to the same thing. No one hears. The Indian press does not listen to the Indian voice. But I am sure the Indian press would certainly provide you pages and pages if you write from Chicago or New York. Because you are a foreigner, if you are an Indian living on the foreign soil, your views are very important. People may invite you for investments in industries. You are afraid of investing, I know. You must be able to say it. Raise your voice against what is happening in this country. Why do I talk of these things in the economy, politics and things when I am supposed to talk about something about some spirituality? Is it proper? Has it got any relationship with these things? Are they related? Yes, they are related. I honestly feel that a man is born repeatedly on this earth. That is the teaching. It's not my feeling, it is the teaching. We return to this earth again and again to repay our debts to this land, to this country, to this people. That is known as Rana. That debt has to be repaid. Till that debt is totally repaid, one has to come back to this world again and again. That debt is repaid not in one stroke in any single life, because in every life he takes it back again. He again becomes indebted for what he receives from his parents, from his teachers, from his employers. There are 5 gurus according to the tradition. Father, the man who has given his education, is number 2. The man who has given his mantra is the 3rd guru. Then the man who has given his food and by applying him is the 4th guru. And the man who has saved his life, whether he is a doctor or a monk, whoever, it doesn't matter, who has helped him in distress. These 5 gurus have to be repaid their debts. God has made it convenient to us to repay our debt to this world by creating a family unit. A wife, children, relatives, home, land and nation, society and these things, whom we all love. Because we love them, we repay what we pay, we show much of attention to them, we serve them, we spend our heart and money on them. This is one way of repaying our debt to them. But for the equation of relationship, love, affection and concern for them, would we happily repay our debts? No. To repay a debt is a very hard thing. There is a pinch felt, even when you have enough money to repay it. So God has made it convenient. He has created a society, a relatives, a home, friends, children, wife and things, to whom we pay happily. The repayment of debt is the primary responsibility of every jiva. God has created this world for the evolution of the souls. Evolution of the soul is a process, a long-term process. It's not one duck or 2 ducks. First he has to understand what is nature, the elemental nature, the 5 elements, the body, the senses, the appetites of the flesh, the desires, the ambitions. These are all our interaction with the nature around us. In this process we evolve. One day we will realize it is all futile. There is no point in reacting to this nature, absorbing this nature and getting absorbed in this nature continually like this, and there is no lasting happiness or peace in this. Lasting peace and happiness, exactly, they lie inside. They have the source of happiness and peace is within me and not without me. This realization comes after several births. On that day, the dawn of wisdom makes him search for the ultimate truth that delivers him from this repeated cycle of birth and death. It's a process of evolution that the soul is going through. That evolution, during that process of evolution, the man faces death to this world. We have taken several births. Every time there was a mother. How did we repay our debt to the mother? There was a father, there was a teacher, there was a savior, there was an employer, there was somebody who provided us food and clothing. How did we repay our debt to them? It must always a question. It must engage our attention regularly. For this reason, Indian citizenship that has been built up in the age-old traditions, is something noble, ennobling. It is not a selfish citizenship. It is a citizenship that serves. It is a citizenship that repays its debt to the society and the country. That kind of noble outlook on life is typically Indian. This concept is not to be found in other religions or cultures. It is certainly a superior concept which enables us to live our life happily, realize what we owe to the others. I am not here to collect what is owed to me, but I am here to repay what I owe to the world. That kind of attitude to life is certainly ennobling. It is bound to repay what we owe to this world. In this picture, the citizenship of India, the continuation to continue to be a part of Indian culture, Indian politics, Indian life, Indian thinking, Indian complications, Indian problems. It is very necessary to be so, and that is the one. It is purely incidental that we have come over here to earn some money, made it a successful life here. We have made a mark of it. Certainly God has been kind to us. Pura Punya has been enough. There was Pura Punya also. See, two things are necessary for achieving a success in anything: human effort and God's grace. These two things are very necessary. Mere human effort without God's grace is not going to give you any result. Just God's grace and without human effort is also a big zero. It does not give us anything. Both have been there that went into the successful careers that have gone over here. Well, then the question is future millennium. They have asked me, I have been asked to speak about the future millennium. Must we really peep into the future? Is it very necessary? Is the basic question. And next millennium is not a decade or two, not even a century. It's a very long process. I would be really greatly interested to know what is going to happen if somebody can tell me this. But having some acquaintance with the astronomy or astrology, I try to engage myself in this question for a while in my limited time at my disposal. We all know that astrology deals with future, but actually speaking, astrology deals with our past. A horoscope is the sum total of our karma of the past, and only indications for the future are given in that, as to what is going to happen as a result of what I have done in the past. That is what the horoscope of an individual indicates. It is nothing but a picture of the past. It is a balance sheet of our karma in the past, that whatever we have indulged in, what is going to give us in future, that is to be read out. In this process, rather than the person who is consulting the astrologer himself is more educated and he receives greater education. He sees through the picture of life in so many horoscopes. Well, a millennium is a very long time. We have drifted a long way from our ancient values even in India. But the values, a system of values is not totally dead. Only a few dropouts are there, maybe 50% even, not a few. But yet the culture itself is alive. For those who search for it, who want to find it for themselves, who want to emulate it, it is very much alive, it is not dead. Many people might have come out. Like there are schools in this village, people may not be able to go. Students are not going to the schools, schools are available. Similarly, the Indian culture is as much intact as anything. The Vedas are there, the scriptures are there, Puranas are there, yoga and things. And how did this great heritage come to be built up? Was it in a state of turmoil before that? Was not the country enjoying real peace? The question is, if peace and prosperity were not there, such a great culture would not have flourished at all. That is the sum total of this. It means obviously the country enjoyed long millennia, long centuries of peace and progress and prosperity. If there was social discrimination, if there was exploitation, if there was too much of bad behavior by people in power continually, and if the circumstances of life were trying and not good, such a great culture would not have flourished. It is a product of peace and prosperity together at one time. Whether it is music and dance or sculpture and architecture, or even the philosophical heights to which the thought of the Indian mind has reached, all this is the product of peace and prosperity only. Today, for the past 2000 years, right from the time of Alexander's onslaught on India, the country has been totally ruined to a large extent. It had received serious injuries all over, and the last 10 centuries have been particularly bad because the people who came to plunder the country found that country plentiful, rich, peaceful and wealthy. No one robs a poor man's hut. The robbers pay their attention only to the rich man's house. If it were to be a poor country, it would not have suffered so much. No, it was not poor. It was prosperous, it was rich, it attracted the attention of everyone. And the history, textbooks of history tell us how much was there and why so and so came and what he did with it. Peace and prosperity were there very much. And what was the secret of that peace and prosperity? Again, the culture, the heritage, the peaceful outlook on life, contentment, not the absence of avarice and hatred, self-contented attitude to life, partaking of what he has with the others, belief in charity, belief in sacrifice. These are the values that they are the values that created peace in that country for a long time. Peace is not the product of avarice. In the presence of avarice, hatred, there can't be any peace. Peace is of two kinds, both personal and social or national. In a society, in the country, there can't be any peace as long as you are too rich and you draw the attention of your poor neighbors, other countries. You can't be in peace. If you are too rich and living in a slum area where your surroundings are poor people, do you enjoy peace? Do you enjoy security? No. You draw undue attention of the people. They become jealous of you, they hate you, they dislike you. They always say they have been exploited, whether it is true or not. It may be a product of your hard work. Still, your neighborhood does not look kindly to you. You attract the attention of the people. Similarly, India at one time attracted the attention of the neighbors. At one time, it was plundered, pillaged, looted. There was arson there. Every kind of harm done to that country. That means there was at one time peace and prosperity and ultimate limits of prosperity that the country had. The way there was an inner peace, the external sources did not allow the peace to survive in this country. In that country, the prosperity itself attracted violence, hatred. That prosperity itself in that country was its own enemy. It exceeded certain limits. Yes, there were levels in society. There were poor people also, but they too had a particular background of thinking, a culture in which they used to see the wisdom in reaching spiritual heights. In fact, we honor a sannyasi. What is a sannyasi? He is a voluntary poverty he has embraced. What is the specialty of sannyasi? He has embraced poverty as a concept, as something elevating him, something which is going to elevate him. We should not spoil sannyasis by offering dollars. It's a very bad practice. We are indulging in something which is bad. Sannyasi must be maintained. His purity must be maintained by the society also. His sanctity must be maintained by not giving him anything. You must take care of him very well. You must support his institutions if any, not him. Excuse me for saying this, but voluntary poverty is sannyas. That is the concept. That is the only country in which poverty has been accepted as a voluntary state. And all this culture was built up on the basic concept of purusharthas. What is the essence of the Aryan culture? Again you may ask, again that has to be defined in simple words. There are 4 purusharthas: Artha, Kama and Moksha, supported by Dharma. Dharma is the underlying principle on which there should be Artha and Kama, and even Moksha has to be attained on that path. Dharma is not to be left behind, whether you are earning your money or you are following your profession, or you are doing any charity, or you are doing any kind of human activity must be accompanied by Dharma. Dharma is nothing but what is appropriate. It is difficult to define Dharma in one word. It's appropriateness. Sometimes killing somebody may be Dharma, like saving somebody may be Dharma at some other time. The same act does not conform to Dharma on all occasions. So Dharma ruled our wealth. Dharma ruled our prosperity. Dharma ruled that led us to peace and happiness. Dharma gives a chance to wipe out our indebtedness to this world and with peaceful and prosperous circumstances in life are created by Dharma. If Dharma were to be at a lower ebb, if Dharma is lost, there is neither peace nor prosperity. We really need prosperity, but how much? Enough and to spare is as the English phrase goes. We must be able to spare some of our wealth to the needy and poor people. That is called enough. But too much of accumulation of wealth does not lead to peace. It leads to avarice. In pursuit of wealth, a man may ruin his conduct. Both at the end of the whether he is successful in accumulating wealth or he fails in accumulating the wealth, both ways he loses his peace. The same rule applies to a nation also. I feel in the near future, based on some astrological calculations, since the question has been put, I feel there are 2 things going to happen in the near future, in the ensuing next century. We will ultimately reach the limit of our physical comfort and prosperity, wealth. It is going to be distributed to all nearly equally. Wealth shall be obtained. It will be obtained. People will become prosperous, materially much more comfortable, leaving no one in difficulty. That equitable distribution of prosperity will be achieved in no time. But then there is an over-accumulation of wealth also in certain quarters in some countries, which will lead to some turmoil, difficulties. But yet, it's an equality of opportunity or wealth, or distribution of the wealth equally in all spheres, all parts of the globe, shall be achieved in the next century within 4 or 5 decades. But then the second part of it is, a wisdom shall dawn in majority of the thinking people in all countries, when they will be able to realize the futility, the unimportance of accumulating wealth. Wealth is certainly not the sine qua non, it is not the ultimate goal of life. Prosperity is not the goal of life. Peace is the goal of peace is the ultimate thing that a man is capable of achieving here by wisdom, by level-headedness, not losing himself into single direction, either accumulation or renunciation. So that wisdom will shut down the next generation, coming generations in the next century. Futility of acquiring wealth, too much of it shall also be realized very soon. So by the turn of next century, 100 years from today, I am sure there will be enough wealth and enough wisdom also. That character that is necessary to build up inner peace and the peace around shall be propagated by the thinking minds in all countries. Freedom and prosperity, wisdom and prosperity are more important. They give the peace, inner and outer. Peace is the product of, peace is not interregnum between two fights, two wars. Between two wars, the interregnum is not called peace. It is like a police peace. If there are disturbances, the commissioner of police imposes a curfew and reports to the government that everything is peaceful. Well, the moment the people are allowed to behave themselves as they like, there is a disturbance. So it is, people are not allowed to move on the roads, it is police the peace, that's not peace. Peace is not something that is imposed by authorities, or by a king or a police, or by the army. There is turmoil in the minds, a hatred in the minds of people in their hearts. They are ready to kill each other if they are allowed to. So in the absence of hate,